Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Build Your Copywriting Business podcast. Hello, ladies.
Hello.
Hello. So, as always, I am joined by the fantastic Kate Sitars, and today we have the pleasure of being joined by Stacy Corneau, who is one of our star CCA students, as well as being one of our student coaches. So, hey, Stacy, how's it going?
Hello. It's going very well.
We just talked yesterday and I love it. The whole week of seeing each other. I love it.
Yeah.
Long time no chat.
Long time no chat. It's been hours. Now, Kate and I have the pleasure of, or have had the pleasure of getting to know you pretty well through both our student coaching program and through our CCA Next Level Mastermind, of which you are also a member. But for those listeners who are not in those programs, or who have not had the chance to interact with you in the CCA Facebook group, tell us about yourself. What has your journey been like to copywriting? All of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, of course. So I'm Stacy. So my journey to copywriting started. So I went to school for public relations. I did a college diploma from 2013 to 2015. An internship as part of that. Got hired out of that internship, and then stayed in public relations. Did 3 different in-house jobs. But that was the start of my career, and then quit my last in-house job towards the end of 2019 to finish a degree I had been working on part-time for a while. And so started freelancing January 2020.
I feel like something happened around then.
Nothing that I can recall that would make a new freelancer nervous in any way. So freelance part-time 2020 and 2021. And then in December 2021, finally finished that degree. Woo-hoo. And so this year, 2022, is my first year of freelancing full-time.
That's terrific. And so there actually, as you know, there are some similarities between public relations and copywriting. Some overlap in terms of really thinking with your audience in mind, what's going to be most valuable to them, all that kind of thing. But what made you interested in copywriting in particular?
So hopefully none of my former bosses are listening to this. I always felt like my writing was my weakest skill throughout my career. I was great at the strategy stuff, project management, platform management, the analytics, all of that came a lot easier. But then when it actually came time to doing the writing, it was very kind of features heavy writing, very outcome focused writing, not the kind of benefits or impact focused copy or even content that one would hope to see. I think part of that is being in-house and balancing 200 things at the same time. And sometimes you just need to get something off your to-do list. But that's a really big part of what got me interested in copywriting, was seeing that it was one of the weaker skills of mine within my public relations tool belt, and specifically wanting to improve that one.
That's impressive. Good for you. Really good for you to go, I'm going to find something to dial this up. That's terrific. Yeah.
Thank you.
So when you were doing your degree programs, was there anything in copywriting? Obviously you joined the CCA, but so what was that like, that you did these degree programs? Did it touch on it? And then how did you find the CCA? Were you specifically searching for copywriting to fill this need that you identified?
Yeah, that's an awesome question. My college diploma, that was 2 years, definitely had a focus on copywriting, because you do so much of it in public relations. My university degree did not. It was a very traditional, it was a degree in public relations, but it's university, so it's much more the theoretical side of things, writing, and then like writing very long essays and things like that. So no copy to be found in that one. But while I was thinking of leaving my last in-house job, and then before joining the CCA, while still in school, I was looking into professional development programs specifically for writing. And I'll just be really blunt. A lot of them are like $4,000, $5,000 plus dollars. And when you work in-house, that's totally fine because your employer pays for it. But when you're a new student, you might not have the $5,000 or more for like a certified professional development program. Some of them are also many months long, and they only happen like once or twice a year. So it's also not a ton of flexibility with them. So I honestly started getting Facebook ads from the CCA, probably because I was Googling so much about like writing and professional development. And what attracted me mostly was the flexibility of like the self-paced learning, because I was already doing some freelancing. I was going to school. I couldn't take 3 days a week off for 6 months to go do professional development or something like that. So that's how I came into the CCA.
Terrific. So now you are full-time freelance now.
Yes.
And is it entirely copywriting or a little bit of dabbling in, you're not dabbling, but is it entirely copywriting or still a little bit PR and comms?
I'd say it's probably a good 80 to 90% copywriting, and that 10 to 20%, some of it would be content like blogs,
sure.
Because they're fun and easy to write. So I'm like, sure, I'll go your blogs on top of your copy. And then part of that additional percentage would be kind of some of the broader comms items, like helping them develop like campaign strategies, or one of my clients currently is in the midst of doing a full website redesign, which is a massive project. And I've been involved in them when I was in-house. So I rewrote the website, and I'm now managing the vendor who is going to be redesigning and acting as like the liaison between the client and the vendor. But I'd say a good 80 to 90% is pure copywriting.
That's terrific. Well, and I'm almost tempted to save it because the results are so good, but it's also so exciting that I want to talk about it right away. You just recently shared with the group, with the CCA Next Level group, what your results have been for the first half of the year, and also compared to what you made last year. Would you like to share, as much as you feel comfortable, of course, but would you like to share with the audience?
Yeah, that's totally fine. I'm pretty transparent when it comes to money, mostly because for various reasons, I think people tend to keep it to themselves. But sometimes it can put in a bit of a like illusion around freelancing that's either significantly harder than it has to be, or that everyone makes like $400,000 in like 2 months. And it's like, okay. So I'm more than happy to share. So in my first year of freelancing, which was 2020, and at that point I was doing kind of any and everything under the comms sun. I just needed money while I was in school. And I also wasn't planning on freelancing after I graduated. I was like, I'm going to get a real job. I was one of those people.
Oh, wait, this is a real job.
Yeah. So in 2020, on average, worked about 4 days a week throughout the year, and did about $63,000 gross Canadian. In 2021, wanted a little bit more balance between work and school. It was a lot. So on average was 3 days a week, and did approximately $71,000 of gross income. And again, that's Canadian dollars. And then 2022, now full-time freelancing. Hours of the weeks have been a little bit all over the place. More often than not, they sit around 40, but there was about 2 months that went around the 55-hour mark. But so far in the first 6 months, it's been approximately $113,000, again, gross Canadian.
Gross Canadian.
And I know I'm saying wow, and I know I knew the number, but every time it's a wow. So
Yeah,
congratulations.
For
first of
our
all.
American friends, I really should have left the tab up because I did do the calculation before. Our American friends, that is almost $88,000 in 6 months. Pretty amazing. And I guess I could do pounds as well, but then we go into Australian. It's complicated. But
we'll convert it all in the show notes.
Yeah.
We'll break it up
into yen,
and exchange rates vary.
That's fantastic. Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you so much.
So yeah, you've already blown it out of the water. That is incredible.
It is incredible. So obviously you are, I mean, that's incredible. Obviously you went from full-time to, but 4 days a week to like 5 days, it wasn't a huge jump. So what else besides that additional day really switched for you? What kind of led to this crazy progress?
Yeah. So, not to oversimplify it, but being strategic, I decided towards summer 2021 that I was going to continue freelancing once I finished school in December 2021. I was like, I'm going to take it really seriously. I'm going to give a go at doing it as a full-time career. And before that, pre-summer 2021, I was just kind of taking any and all work. Didn't have, I had joined the CCA. I was in the CCA at that point. So I was starting to raise my rates, starting to get more focused on much more focused on copy, but there was still a bit of that scarcity mindset. I have to take just any projects people give me. I can't negotiate too much. Being in school at the same time really had a hand in that as well, because school is a priority. So any work I had to fit around that. So like quick turnaround times and things couldn't happen. Towards the end of 2021, I blazed through CCA, kind of started taking it more seriously, kind of revisited action sheets, started taking freelancing more seriously, and then decided I'm going to not niche down. I'm going to focus on copywriting specifically. And then it was about fall 2021, September-ish of 2021, that I basically put together a business plan for 2022. Looking at it now, I'm like, it's kind of more of a one-pager than a plan, but okay. But it was a starting point of what are my goals? What are my priorities? And then, working back, like then what are your objectives? How are you going to achieve those ones? So that I didn't feel quite as kind of free floating in the freelance world. So I started pitching regularly last summer, put goals for myself of how many to send each week, how many like follow-ups, things like that. So by about November 2021, I had work lined up for the first couple months of 2022. So I was kind of hitting the ground running in that way. And then that took a kind of weight off my shoulders when January hit, because you're not starting the new year being like, oh my gosh, I have to find work right now. I can't rely on my student loans anymore. Like you don't scramble the brain, starting things off. So really this is a very long answer to just say strategy.
Valuable.
But getting really, really focused on what I wanted to achieve. I think it's really easy for folks to look at what everyone else is doing, look at what everyone else is achieving, and say, I'm going to do that too. But it might not be what you want or need in your life. So really kind of looking more inward to say, what are my priorities? What are my actual goals? Okay, I have those on paper. Now let's work backwards to what do I have to do to achieve those things. And so when people in the group would be posting wins, and sometimes I get imposter syndrome of like, wow, they're doing phenomenal, and like I haven't hit that yet, or what have you. Be like, no, come back to your piece of paper. What are your goals? That's right. Not everyone's goals, not everyone's trajectory is going to look the same, and that's okay. And then creating kind of a concrete plan of when do I, and this comes out of the working with the two of you, out of the CCA, out of the workbook. But when do I work best and not so great during the week in terms of energy, focus, creativity. Really being honest with myself, because I'm a bit of a workaholic. Yeah. Kate and I have a lot of similarities.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to ease up as well on basing a lot of feelings of like self-worth on accomplishment or productivity. So being very honest in that, like, you're not going to accomplish, you're not going to work all Friday afternoon. You're going to work for like 1 hour. So don't use Friday afternoon as a big work moment. So figuring out very honestly with myself, when do I work best? And then blocking off times within that to do certain tasks like research or writing or pitching or discovery calls, and then testing it out, making tweaks along the way, but really kind of really sticking with it. Like if I'm going to commit to 5 pitches a week, for example, commit to 5 pitches a week. Obviously life things happen. And if you need like a mental health day, or if, you know, something unforeseen happened, take a break, because that's really important. But motivation kind of wanes. And if you're only doing things when you're motivated, it might be like 1 week out of the month. And if you're going to make it a career, I mean, we've all been there. We've all had a job where there's a day and you're like, I do not care. I do not care about these emails. Don't care about my deadlines. Don't care about anything. But you have to get through it anyhow. And now it's much more so in my own hands, as opposed to, you know, a boss kind of breathing down your neck, being like, where's that thing? And you're like, fine, let me tape it up. So strategy and self, like, accountability have been, I think, two of the big kind of successors this year. That was a very long answer.
No, such a good,
super helpful.
A good answer.
Yeah,
exactly. I think there's a lot. And in fact, I would encourage everybody listening to go, or watching, to go back and listen to what Stacy just said again, because she gave a lot of really good action steps for how you can get to results. I don't want to say similar to hers, but get to your own successful results. I want to point out too, I think it's interesting for people hearing that you brought up imposter syndrome. You brought up imposter syndrome about 3 to 4 minutes after you told us that you have made $113,000 Canadian dollars in the first half of this year. I just want to point that out to everybody listening, because no matter who you are, because there are probably people who heard that and go, oh man, I haven't gotten there yet, or will I ever get there? You know, it's not the mindset stuff. It's not stuff that you just graduate out of, right? You don't get to, well, now I made 100,000 in 6 months, and therefore I never have any more imposter syndrome, or I never have any more problem sitting down and getting to work, or I never have to worry about not having clients, or, you know, whatever, getting clients in, or any kind of scarcity mindset ever again. So I did just want to point that out, that we, all of us, keep working through the mindset, and the more we work through it, the better we get at it, and the more comfortable and confident we get. Yeah.
And one of the things that has really helped me when it comes to imposter syndrome, not to make this a therapy session, but something I found really helpful too, is that oftentimes when I'll only speak from my own experience, but when I'm feeling imposter syndrome, it's linked to feelings of like not being good enough, or fear of failure, or other things. And for me, it's my brain's way of being like, oh, we're trying something new. This is really scary. Well, I don't know about this. Sound the alarms. I don't know what you're moving forward. So imposter syndrome comes up and it's like, do you really think you can accomplish that? Maybe just go to the couch, wrap yourself up in a blanket, have some ketchup chips. Like you like then we're not moving forward with this. And so imposter syndrome a lot of the times can like come out as a lot of negative self-talk and a lot of beating ourselves up. But it's our brain's way or my brain's way of being like, this is new and kind of scary. I don't know if this is the path we want to go on. And so for folks listening or watching, if you're able to kind of recognize that and take a step back, and then kind of not to sound all like hooey, but to like honor your imposter syndrome or approach it in a more compassionate way, to be like, thank you so much. I see you, I hear you, you are valid. I understand why you're coming up. And maybe at some point it served a good purpose. But it's just not the vibe for the moment. So I'm going to be scared and do the thing anyways. And you're going to come along with me because we can't ignore you and you're not going to go away. So we're going on this journey together, being scared and doing the thing anyways. So for anyone listening, that's my tip when you get imposter syndrome.
I love it.
A lot.
It's like your little buddy. You're like, come on, we're gonna let's go do this.
Hop on, we're gonna do it together.
Ride this roller coaster. Buckle up.
And
Well, and one thing too, a system of yours that I know has impressed me and Kate and all of your fellow masterminders is your color coding system for what you're working on in terms of projects, what's coming up, where your goals are, all that kind of thing. Can you share with us a little bit about how you put that together, why it's worked well for you, all of that kind of thing?
Yeah, of course. So I based it off of the workbook in the CCA. I use that as kind of my model. I find that workbook really helpful. I keep it in my desk drawer and regularly go back to it. Not to be too like, go download the workbook. But if you're someone who needs to like map out like I am, it is very helpful.
The Right Start one, I think, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
Yeah, the Right
For
Start
CCA
workbook.
students, it's in the special events in case you're not sure with it, but yeah.
So I decided to take it 100 steps further for myself. Because I'm very much a visual person, and something I struggle with also is scarcity mindset. So trying to hoard projects or gather up as many, that's maybe not a very generous way of saying it, but gathering up as many projects, as many clients as you can, because what if I don't get any next month or 3 months from now? And I'm a visual person, so if I don't see it, it doesn't exist, kind of a thing. So I use cue cards or index cards to map out different categories. I have them in my hand, but I will obviously talk about them. So I have like a learning category, which is one color. I have my well-being category because it was more personal related, because I kind of started overworking and feeling burnt out. And that's just, it's not the vibe of 2022, And then I have obviously my financial category. And then my final category is, I added it the second time I did this, I do it each quarter. So business development for 2023. So really starting to plan ahead. So in each category, I break down the biggest goal first. So I'll use finances because it's just it's the easiest one to talk about. So for financial, I want to make X amount in the year, break that down to X amount per month, figuring out realistically, what does that mean for an hourly rate then? Because if you're like, oh, that means X amount per 40 hours, you are not working. Ideally, you're not doing 40 billable, maybe like 35, 32, but a straight 40, then you're probably actually working maybe closer to 45, 46, and breaking that down into, okay, what projects what have I already made this year? So total amount minus that amount. Okay, I still have this much left to make. So what projects do I have 100% confirmed? Either I've only invoiced for half of it, so I still have that money to come, or it's confirmed and hasn't started yet, or it's a retainer and I bill it out monthly, so that money's to come. And then from there, okay, I still need X amount. So mapping out either repeat clients that I can come back to repitch, or kind of the friendlies or the warms of folks, like maybe you worked with them a year ago, or maybe it's your friend who works somewhere new and you can be like, hey, do you need a project? Like, overflow work, I have an idea, or pitch a project, like whatever. So you got your warms and your friendlies. And then your, how I do it is then my cold pitches. So folks that don't know who you are, you've never spoken to them before, but you'd really like to work with them. I started based on like passion or interest. Because for me, it's just easier to pitch and to come up with ideas for those ones, or industries that I haven't worked in before that I'd really like to. And so each one of those is on a cue card. So I start very broad and I whittle my way down to something very specific, but I do that for every single category. So that was an example of financial. It's the same for well-being. Like I'd like to, I think one of my goals was like, I'd like to, by the end of the year, kind of be trained up for like a 5 to 10K. Being a little vague on that one, but I broke my foot last year. So I was like, I don't want to be like, I'm going to run a marathon. And like, no, I'm not. So kind of, again, breaking that down, because that helped me like with mental health and movement. It also means like work-life balance. Like I have to get out of the house to go do something.
Yes.
So kind of breaking it down into, this is my big goal. Okay. Each week I'm going to go for 3 walks for the first 3 months. Then I'm going to do it, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays, 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. I'm going to go for a little walk. And on Fridays, as a treat, I'm going to pick myself up Starbucks on my way back as like a little congrats for like hitting your goal. And so I do that with every single one with all of the goals. And then what I did right now, I have, they're just sitting outside of my desk. What I typically do is put them on the wall right next to my desk, so that every day when I'm working, I see it. For me, it's very calming. For others, it could be a bit much, but it helps with that scarcity mindset, in particular when it comes to clients and money. And it helps remind myself of the need for balance. It's Friday afternoon. I don't work well on Friday afternoons. Why am I trying to tackle this right now? Because I'm already cranky. Or it's Wednesday morning and I didn't go for my walk. Okay, then I'm going to do it at lunchtime because Wednesday is walk day, type of a thing. So for me, it helps kind of settle everything out really well. It helps with balance.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic.
I love it so much. I know you mentioned you nailed the project management thing at your past role, and I'm like, clearly she did. That's so cool. I'm going to try that now. Actually, to be honest, I need visual reminder to your point. I want to get away from your desk. Yeah, I will. Yeah. I'll share a picture of the group when I do it.
Well, and I think too, the thing about scarcity mindset is it's a fear, right? It's entirely emotional. So to go from like, well, I'm scared. No, I'm going to force myself to be positive. I'm going to force myself. It doesn't really work. But you can also know logically, emotionally, you might be going, what if there are no more clients ever again? Logically, you can go, well, there are literally millions of companies out there, of course. And you know exactly how to land these clients. But sometimes that logic and that emotion doesn't match up. So I just really think it's impressive that you found a way to prove it to yourself in a way that your mind makes that connection. Because you're visual, you see it on the wall, and that helps prove it to yourself so that you don't have to try to fight the emotions. You take in that input in the way that works best for you. I think that's so smart.
It's helped so much because, like we said, hit about 113. I don't know why I phrase it like that, 113,000 so far this year. I have approximately 30,000 lined up between now and the end of the year. My goal is 150. So I'm there's like exchange rates and this and that. It's between kind of $7,000 and $9,000 away from hitting that goal. And we're July 1st. So if I can do 113 in the first half of the year, I can probably pull another 9 in the second half of the year.
I think so.
Maybe, hopefully.
Sure.
But without this system, I started realizing I was getting really stressed out because I wasn't keeping track of the income to come or those projects that's it's booked, but for 2 months from now.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just getting really stressed out. And then I'd be over pitch I always hit the deliverables, I always hit the deadlines, but overcommit in terms of my energy, my time. And so being able to map it out really just helped me take a big step back and be there's enough work. You can ramp up if you need to. Mm-hmm. I'm proof of it. A lot of the other people on the podcast are also proof of it. Like you can ramp up. Yeah. Like you can ramp up pretty, I don't want to like belittle it, but you can ramp up pretty easily. It takes effort, obviously, in planning, but it's not something like, it takes 9 months and then you've ramped up a tiny bit. Like you can ramp up within 1 to 2 months, like relatively easily.
Yeah. You are in control of it. You're not waiting for clients to find you.
Yeah.
It's you say, all right, I need to make more income. You sit down and you take the steps to make more income. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's exactly it. I think something that I really benefited from when it comes to the CCA is that feeling of control in a positive way. I gained the confidence, the skill set to feel more in control of my copywriting on the business side of things. Obviously grew my skills in terms of copywriting itself, but really grew my confidence when it came to the business side. I was always really nervous about when it came to especially money with clients. They'd be like, we only have this budget. And I'd be like, oh, okay, no, like, that's no problem. Like, I don't like, it's like 1/10 of what I charge, but like, that's no problem. Like, I'll just, don't want to be weird. And I didn't have like the confidence of like, I have X number of years of public relations experience, but also like this additional training from the CCA, all this new knowledge from the CCA. And I still didn't feel super, like when I was first kind of like mid 2021, like first starting to like do more pitching and stuff like that. And so one of the benefits I gained was that sense of confidence of this is your business. Put your CEO hat on, put imposter syndrome right in the seat next to you. She's your buddy. Mm-hmm. You are your co-CEOs at this point and do this scary thing anyways. But it gave me this sense of knowledge and confidence to say, I have a better understanding of the business side of freelancing. I can strategically map things out. My copywriting skill set and my business skill set has grown enough for me to feel more confident in what I charge, or even charging more if that's appropriate at the time, etc. And when clients, for example, it doesn't happen very often, but when they be like, oh, that payment's going to be late, or we don't, for certain projects, ask for a portion of the payment up front, or, at stages, or this or that. And if clients would gently be like, oh, that's not our process. Sometimes it's fine. Sometimes I'm like, nope, sorry. This is the process for this project. I will move forward once payment's received. And they're like, oh, okay, and you get in 24 hours. But I wouldn't have had the confidence beforehand. And now I feel like the CCA, I feel like I'm really like amping up the confidence side, but it really did give me the confidence. But this is my CEO hat. I am the CEO of my business, and it's taking it more seriously as opposed to this is something I do on the side. I happen to freelance, like this is my career. I'm in control of it. I'm the captain of this boat now. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes, you are.
And also having the confidence, like you did the other day, turning down a project that couldn't meet your rate, which I feel like is equally sometimes challenging as, negotiating for your rate, but also knowing when to then walk away.
Yeah. Had it been honestly, even just 1 year ago, I would have been like, okay, no problem. And then not the client's fault, but I would have probably grown resentful of the work or of the client even, because I would have been undercharging, and it would have created a lot of negative feelings. So to be able to say, thank you so much for the opportunity. I do truly want to work with you. We're just not in alignment right now over budgets. So I'm going to walk away, and not feeling like I have to take any and every opportunity that happens to arise, whether it's scarcity mindset or lack of confidence.
Well, and even just the way that you said that, we're just not in alignment on your budget. So best of luck to you. I'd love to work with you, but this just isn't going to work. The energy in that is it's respectful, but it's both respectful of the client and also respectful of yourself. And it just such a great energy to be working from. I really want to commend you for that. It's fantastic.
Thank you so much. No, I find once you, it takes time, but once you kind of get to that point of respecting your energy, respecting your time, you can get to the point where it's, thank you so much that we're not in alignment. This isn't the opportunity for me at this moment. If applicable, you could refer someone else that would be a better fit for them. If you don't happen to know anyone or you don't want to for other reasons, that's obviously fair. But not only being able to do it, but being able to do it and walking away still feeling neutral to positive, not having any negative feelings towards them or like you missed out on something. Something I used to do like a year and a half ago was if something didn't work out, I would do the math in my head of how much money that would have been. And then I'd be like, I missed out on that. I'm now negative, whatever. And it's like, first of all, that money wasn't in your bank account to begin with. You're not negative anything. That wasn't your money. But because I kind of get my hopes up and kind of in my head commit to the project, because I was at a place of imposter syndrome in the negative way, or like discomfort with kind of running it as a business as opposed to a side hustle. I know when I say side hustle, I mean in the like I'm just freelancing, not you're working full time and freelancing part time. That obviously is completely fine. But when people are like, oh, you're just freelancing on the side, or you're doing a couple hours, that kind of side hustle where it's not like taken very seriously. So being able to walk away from the experience feeling neutral or positive, I think shows a lot of growth in terms of where the person, I love how I'm saying the person, like this isn't me.
You are a new person.
In terms of where I'm at as like a business owner, and being able to say like our businesses are not in alignment. We can reach back out if and when they are. Thank you so much. And it's just a business decision. It has nothing, it says nothing about me as a person, about my competence, about my likability, about my worth, because it would always really tug at that. It has nothing to do with that. This is my business to your business. They're currently not in alignment. Therefore, we're not going to move forward. Thank you so much. Like the end.
I love that. I love so much of that.
This is another point. Go back and re-listen to what she
said.
Fantastic. And then go back and save this episode. So good. And such a beautiful evolution as a professional to be in that place of value and being able to disconnect the self-worth from this is a business decision. And you're right, things can be so much easier when it's not, well, why am I hurting anybody's feelings, or was this money, when it's just objectively, it does not make sense for my business to be interacting with this business for less than the standard rate.
Yeah.
And then too, you could be, if you made concessions to work with them at the lower rate, then there's always the possibility that you could be factoring in what you could have been making if you've been working with a higher client or a higher paying client, or a client that pays at your normal rate or above. So I think that's so wise and insightful.
Well, and that's exactly it. Because if it had been like a very small project, maybe a day's worth of time, and I could kind of fit it in like a month from now or something like that, I probably would have been willing to, because I did truly want to work with them. So I'd be like, fine, I get the experience of this project. I get maybe a testimonial if they're okay with it, and a portfolio piece. But it was going to be about 50% of my week. And so the trade-offs of everything, because it's not just, it's lower than my rate, so I'm missing out on X money with that client. But because it's such a large portion of the week, I don't have the time to do the business development for the other clients. And so even if the work would be very exciting, in some ways, it could have potentially led to being held back. And then that's when I was like, so as a business, we're not even maybe staying where we're at. We're not moving forward now. And so then it's like, okay, this is not the vibe.
I love it.
I love it.
We need a new t-shirt. This is not the vibe.
Yeah.
This is not the vibe. I love it. That's fantastic. So if someone has been hearing you and they're thinking, wow, maybe this copywriting thing is something I'd like to get into, or, ooh, maybe I'm inspired to go full-time freelance, which I realize are two potentially very different situations, but is there one piece of advice that you could give them that would work for every single person who could possibly be listening to this podcast? There you go. Very easy, a very easy ask.
No problem.
That creative brief would never fly.
Target audience, everyone.
Exactly.
Fantastic. That's no problem. Piece of advice. I have two pieces of advice. The first one is never stop practicing. You may get to the point where, maybe you hit 6 figures in 6 months.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically. How do I phrase this? You're never too good to continue developing your skills. We've all heard it. You should never be the smartest person in the room. Always keep practicing. When I get direct mail, for example, I'll read over it and think through like would I tweak this? Does it need improvements? I get e-newsletters, same thing. I'll go through them and think, that's an interesting subject line. Okay. And I'll kind of like take 5 minutes while sipping my morning coffee to be like, how would I have tweaked that? It doesn't have to be super formal. It could be little things like that, or reading books. There's an entire reading list on the website and like podcast recommendations and stuff, but always kind of be developing your skills. And then the other piece of advice I would have, if this podcast episode wasn't enough of a therapy session for everyone, a piece of advice I would have is, if you are having any negative what if thoughts, like what if I fail? What if it doesn't work out? What if people, laugh at me, or whatever your what ifs are, for however many you come up, match it with at least one positive one. If you're going to put all this time and all this energy into negative self-talk, you owe it to yourself to flip it and put at least as much time and energy into positive self-talk. So what if I fail? You want to go worst case scenario, so long as you can kind of reel yourself back, go for it. What if you fail? Boom, 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 boom. Those are the potential worst case scenarios. What if I succeed? Boom, 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 boom. These are the best case scenarios. I did it one time when I was having a full-fledged panic attack on my kitchen floor like 5 months ago. I got my notebook out and I was like, I'm going for it. And I wrote down all my the bad what ifs, the negative self-talk. And I said, okay, match them to positive ones. Again, I'm visual. This helps me process things. Might not be for everyone. But if you can match them to positive ones, then I can take a step back. And I find it helpful for others sometimes too, to say, okay, well, those positive what ifs are kind of looking pretty good. So maybe it's worth going for it. So my 2 pieces of advice: never stop practicing, always be learning, and anytime self-doubt or negative self-talk comes up, match the energy with at least the same amount of positive self-talk, and then decide what you'd like to do next once you've been able to take a breather.
I love that.
So good.
So wise.
So good. So good. Stacy, this really has been fantastic. If someone is listening to this and they're like, that is the vibe, I would like to hire her as my copywriter. See what I did there? What's your URL? How can they find you?
Yeah, my website is stacyelainecommunications.com. It's just STACY, and then Elaine is ELAINE, and then communications.com. Not to speak for the team, but we'll put in the show notes.
Yes, nailed it. Thank you, Stacy.
It's quite a long URL, so we got you.
Yeah, show notes. Awesome. Well, Stacy, this has been fantastic. So exciting to see your successes, and so helpful to hear your advice, what you've been through, the ways that you are growing. I'm so excited for you, and just love to keep seeing the way you're heading. So thank you for hopping on a call with us and sharing your story with the greater community. Much appreciated.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a really fantastic opportunity. Thank you.
Our pleasure. And so with that, we will catch everybody in the next episode. Bye, everyone.
Or anything else. Kate's co-CEO.
I could feel her coming, and I was like, we're gonna like trap her, and it's gonna be fine.
You have something to say pursuant to that?
I agree with Stacy.
Like what you heard? Hit subscribe so you never miss a video. And if you're ready to take the first step toward becoming a copywriter yourself, sign up for a free video training right here.